Hi, Craig Lieberman here, technical advisor for the first Fast and Furious movies. Don't blame all of that on me. You're watching Vibe 105.5.
This is Vibe Talks, exclusively on Vibe 105.
Hey everybody, this is Giancarlo Aulino reporting for Vibe 105 with a Vibe Talk segment, and I am happy to be joined by my guest today who's making his return here to the Vibe 105 airwaves. He was a technical advisor for the first Fast and the Furious film and Too Fast, Too Furious. He's Craig Lieberman. How you doing, Craig?
Doing good. Still in California, or I like to call it South America.
Last time you joined us, it was the 20th anniversary of the Fast and the Furious franchise. Fast 9 was just coming on into the theater.
It's disappointing audiences all around the globe. I joke about it, but the honest thing is I am not 19 years old anymore, as you can probably guess, and I'm not the target audience. I don't know why they're not making movies for 55-year-old guys, but we had our day. I can't be mad.
When it's on Fast 10 now, like, is this surreal in a way? Because you were a part of it, like, from the start, and you saw everything grow and morph into what it is. Like, is it surreal to you when you see that they're at the 10th film right now?
No, it makes me very happy. You got to remember, Universal is my client, so obviously I want them to succeed. So, I'm producing content for YouTube, so I have to kind of bash. But if you watch my videos, I say, well, if you're the target audience, you're going to love this movie, and then the same thing happens here. This movie is going to be over the top. I'm not into space, but but it's going to be over the top. It's going to be some great action. And if you're into that stuff and you've seen, if you're still following the franchise after Fast 7, that means you're their special audience, which you mean you really like this stuff. So if you like this stuff, you're going to love this movie. But if you still understand anything about physics, or military training. Was there a movie that I missed that they went to Navy SEAL school or some shit? Because I must have missed it, that one. Maybe I was getting my AARP card that day. I don't know, whatever it is. But you got to understand, and you got to realize that they're still blowing up cool cars. So if you like a car movie, it's hard to say that it's not really a car movie, but they're destroying a whole bunch of cars, which means that the ones that survive are going to go up in value, because 20 years from now, there's going to be no gasoline cars on the road, right? And everybody looking for a 6-cylinder Dodge Charger, right? With a wide body kit and no mufflers. And they're blowing up all those cars.
And this film now, like you mentioned it there, just the physics of some of the previous ones, like Dominic Toretto has been a man who stresses the importance of family, but in the recent films, he's willingly taking his wife and driving off a cliff. So, and just the plot lines in there, does that make you?
I think if I jump off this cliff, the car will go up without a ramp, catch the front tire on a piece of vine, which I don't know if you ever try to pull on a piece of vine, they fall apart. Like, it's a 4,000-pound car with 2 people in it, and it swings. The momentum gives him enough trajectory to put it on a cliff. Have you ever tried to go 360 on a swing set? It doesn't work. Mythbusters prove that it can't work without rocket motors. So here am I sitting here. Something seems sus.
Just from the start, like this, obviously the franchise started with them going and getting DVD players out of back of a truck, and now it turned into a heist film. So what are your thoughts on the trajectory of the franchise and the shift once probably Fast 5, it went into Fast 6, and it went into more espionage?
I mean, where were they going to go? They can't keep stealing DVD players. I think they were stealing VHSs, if I'm not mistaken. And now I have to go back and watch it. I forgot. Maybe there were some CD players, but I do remember seeing VCRs. But it is what it is. But the movie touched a nerve with the audience, because up until that point, and were you even born then? Can I ask that question?
Yeah, 1995. So I was a young kid watching it. Yeah,
6 years old, growing it up, watching it on VHS for the next 6 years. By the time you're 13, you figured out that you absolutely can drive already, because you got all gold license in Gran Turismo, right?
Yeah.
So you were ready to get the keys, like my son, right? But the trajectory, where you're going to go after you do street racing, what is else left? I wrote a script many years ago where Paul Walker gets mixed up with a guy who's a repo guy. And now Paul Walker is a canyon racer, right? And so they go up to Mulholland, which is a big canyon out here in Southern California. And there's all these guys, these doctors, lawyers, and captains of industry racing their Ferraris and Lamborghinis down the road. And he's got this little dilapidated R34 GTR, and he's smoking everybody going down the thing, right? And people start getting mad. And so when these doctors lose their cars, they report them stolen, and then they're shipped overseas, and they sell it for insurance fraud, right? And there's a repo guy that he meets him, a guy like, what was that? Andrew Dice Clay, you know that guy?
Yeah. The
comedian. For these cars. And yes. And a guy to try to you go to Tokyo, which was my favorite movie. I think it was the best one, most real one. And then they go to 4, where they're drug runners from the border. I can see that every day. KTLA News, Channel 5 here in Los Angeles. It happens every day. And now, these days, social media, I'm seeing freeway pursuits every day. Wow. Every day. And I'm like, Fast 12, right here. Where's Toretto? So, I mean, they're really going to have to ramp it up, because today's reality was yesterday's action movie.
Yeah. Even like on that, like Paul Walker has been a topic of discussion as of late, because there's that debate of whether they should include his character in the film, whether they shouldn't. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think that it maybe it's disrespectful, or do you think it's a positive light to have him in the movie?
Both his daughter and his family said that they wanted to see him to come back. Okay. But the truth of the matter is, they don't know what to do with it. They to please everybody. A lot of people are saying he's gone, right? He got this send off in Fast 7, now milking the franchise and just dangling him. They keep doing. That's what pisses me off. In every movie since 7, they keep dangling him. Paul is back. They show pictures of Paul to make people get into the theater, hopefully to get some closure where he is. The ridiculousness is, in the last couple of movies, he's been daddy daycare. He sends his wife to go out and fight for him, and he's taking care of the kids. Didn't they make a bunch of money in Fast 8 or Fast 9, whatever it was, when the 7 one, when they stole the vaults and all that shit? Was it? Yeah. Okay. So they were supposed to retire that time, and then one more ride, the last ride, the next to the last ride. This is the next to the last ride, and this time we really mean it. They're just tangling dangling in the promise of Paul coming back. In this movie, they said it again, and what they're really doing is backfilling the plot from the Jason Momoa thing from the Fast 7 with what he was not in the movie, right? There was no Dante and all that kind of stuff, and then so they have to put Paul's face in there to fill in some slots. And now with CG, you can do that using Cody's face, his face structure and all that kind of stuff. So they're milking it. He's getting paid. We're still not bringing him back, Paul Walker, back in any meaningful role except for flashbacks and all that kind of stuff. But I know they're holding it for Fast 11. So Fast 11 is going to be a circle. It's going to be the last film in this series, and then there'll be a break for a while until Universal starts running out of money, and then they're going to start Fast and Furious, the next generation. We pick up Dominic Toretto's kid and Paul Walker, Brian Spilner's kid. In high school, they meet on a street race and blah, 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 blah. And they get into some bad work, and the family has to come back. Now it's for the kids. Some bullshit like that. And they'll introduce a new, whole new generation to it. Maybe even with EVs, it's going to be a weird thing, or maybe not. A lot of kids today don't even drive. They don't want to drive. You got Uber, you got self-driving cars coming online, all that kind of stuff. It's a changing landscape. Some of it's going to be really good. Some of it's going to be cool. Some of it is going to piss us old guys off. The guys who start putting car sounds on their electric car, I'm sorry, that's like stuffing your bra. Okay, you can get away with that in junior high school. I get it. I appreciate it. But these are grown men. What are we doing? It's just a different world, but it changes. Some of it I said is good. but these keep packing the theaters, man.
Yeah.
But the real barometer is the box office take. Okay. Fast 7 did 1.5 billion. Fast 8 did 1.2. And the next movie, I got to look at the box up. I don't think Fast 9 did all that well, did it? So the movie recipe for success is 5 times. So it's 5X. So it really needs to make 5X. Anything below that, you're getting And if it's only 3X, it's not good. Investors are not very happy.
Like, just on this topic of like box office, what was the target that the studio was looking for at the time for the original film?
Well, again, 5 times, right? That's typically the thing. The movie was initially supposed to only have a $25 million budget. My boss, David Martyr, was married to a lady named Kool Martyr, Koolr. She was one of the heads of the studio, and she helped them get a bigger budget, because walk and talk movies back then, if you do a movie like When Harry Met Sally, where you're just walking on the street and you have controlled sets, that's a $25 million movie, okay? If you have anything with cars, you're talking about $50 million bucks. Wow. Easy. So they got 39, right? And they made 211 domestic, or worldwide, I think it was, and 150 domestic. And then Fast 2, Too Fast, Too Furious, they spent 85 million, and it did not do good. I think it was like 240. It made 236 million. And that was a stupid story. It was really ridiculous. It's a horrible thing. Horrible. But ironically, Tokyo Drift, you know what that movie made?
Was that the lowest grossing?
Yep, 159 million bucks.
And that was all street racing, that movie. So is that when you think they decided that it wasn't going to sell for them?
Street racing movies don't sell tickets. And that was drifting, and the whole world had not heard about drifting, right? So they were too early with that movie, I think. Now, if they had done it in 2006, 2007, when did it come out? I want to say it was like 20,000. It was June of 2006. I thought it was a year earlier. Okay, so that's pretty much in the meat of the drift thing. Well, here in the United States, but probably past the prime in Japan, because they've been doing it for a decade and a half before that, and so forth. So that wasn't great. And the budget for that movie was like 85 million as well. So it was not good.
Wow. Were you a part of Universal's like original discussions for Fast and Furious when they brought back Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, or like, did you like not have anything to do with that at the time?
Well, Too Fast, Too Furious, what happened was when I was working on Too Fast, Too Furious, when I first read the script, I immediately realized that Vin Diesel wasn't involved. But my boss filled me in. And meetings, I sat in a meeting at Universal Pictures with Scott Stuber, who was at the time the vice president of the studio, the whole thing, right, in production. So we're sitting there with about 20 people at the table, and I had already gone through the script and so forth, and realized that there's no Vin Diesel. And think, I don't know how this thing's going to make it without Vin Diesel. And Paul Walker, I didn't think was very strong. And then when I got back from that meeting, my boss said to me, Vin's not here because he's off doing Riddick and Triple X, right? He was doing Triple X. Rob Cohen, the director, brilliant guy. He figured out initially, before the first movie, I listened to him talk about Paul Walker like he's going to be the next Steve McQueen, which didn't pan out. You know why? Because Paul Walker is not really an actor. He told me that 100 times. I'm not an actor. They keep paying me to put me in these movies. So if it's got guns, surfing, or cars, I'm in, bro. And if you look at all of his movies, one of those things is in that movie.
Yeah, that's a deal breaker.
Yeah, but he's just a down-to-earth guy, really was. Okay, so he had no imagination or ego about this kind of stuff. He was just a teenager, in a man's body, running around and living the life. La vida loca, I think Vin Diesel will say. So then Vin Diesel went off to be the other thing, and Rob said to me, Vin Diesel is going to be the next Arnold Schwarzenegger, which didn't happen.
Wow.
It didn't happen. And so then Justin Lin, when he was hired to come in and give new life to the franchise with Tokyo Drift, he had a poolside meeting with Vin Diesel and said, we want you to come back. And he said, I will do that if you give me the rights to, was it Riddick? And to finish out that series, which I think he's working on this now. Something else beyond Fast and Furious. I think that's going to be a comeback of some sort, if I read the tabloids right. And then now Riddick went out. The first movie did Triple X box office. I don't think that movie did very well, about like 150 million, I think. 142 million bucks. Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, and a big budget too for those kind of movies.
Yeah, but it made 132 over outside of the world. Outside of the USA. So 277. It's not terrible. Vin Diesel got 10 million payout on that one movie. That's in 2002 money. That's not cheap.
Yeah, that's a nice little payday for him.
Well, considering he only made like $1 million for Fast and Furious 1.
Yeah, like even that, like he comes back at the end of Tokyo Drift, and then that's when they set the stage. Do you think like that was always a goal? Because I remember Fast 5 when that came out, that was part of the commercials. Like you were talking about before, this is the last ride. Like, was that under Universal's vision there that after 5 that was going to be over?
They're freaking winging it, man. And they're as long as it makes money, man. I mean, if you have a property and people keep coming back to see it, right? You go with it until it runs out of gas. And I thought I ran out of gas in Fast 9 with the space shit.
Yeah.
But in my circle, I don't know about your circle, but my circle, what's going on is all my friends are car people. Car people. I have people who are in their 40s now, lawyers, captains of industry, if you want to call it, investors, all that kind of stuff. They grew up with the franchise. It's 20 years on now. We don't even go to see those movies anymore, Craig. We don't even go. We don't even take our kids. We wait for them to come on cable and we show the kids the first couple of movies, the first 3 movies. We skip all the other ones. They're just completely over it. It's if you're watching a movie about old men and you're not an old man, you don't really care. I bet you've never seen a movie called Grumpy Old Men.
I've heard about it. Not seen it from start to finish, but I heard about it. Yeah.
Not your jam. I don't expect you to watch that movie because you have no idea who those actors are and why they were famous and what their shtick was. Okay. So, and I get it, but I'm in a weird, but the basic thing that's going on here is it has turned a whole generation into car people.
Yeah.
I am getting on a plane in 2 days. I'm going to Belgium and I'm going there as an invite and they're paying me to come out to be a guest at their show and sign autograph pictures. I have 800 pictures in my suitcase to sell, and I'm going to run out.
Wow. Think
people come up. I was there in Holland for a car show in October. I was there for the weekend. I signed 2,500 autographs, which is fucking crazy. In this country, nobody gives a shit. You go to to foreign country. My wife is my manager. So she's standing there in the wings with the clipboard over there. The little kids, get the kids, they're shaking. They come up to me.
Wow.
Mr. Lieberman, I love the work you did at Fast and Furious as a professional shopper. You buy these wheels, you should buy this wing, you should buy, no, you can't put that button there. No. This is how you put the wheels on it. This is what would look cool on the car. Yes, no, well, that kind of stuff. Yes, you can borrow my cars, off you go. Professional shopper and somebody doing what I do very well, give everybody else advice on how to do shit. That's perfect for me. Perfect job for me. But the credit really belongs for the guys who are putting all the parts on these cars, the people at Universal, Rob Cohen, Neil Moritz, who believed in that we were trying to introduce a modicum of authenticity. And we know they're going to do some creative license and they're going to do some exaggeration stuff. Diamond plate floorboards falling off the car, right? Cars going from 60 miles an hour to 240 miles an hour by hitting the NOS. No consideration of the gear ratio or the RPM range of the vehicle. All that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's a movie. And today I still get kids, 12 years old. Oh, I'm going to put nitrous on my dad's Buick Regal.
Oh,
no,
wow.
you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. But it got a whole. So I'm going to a show in Belgium, and after that, and then fall, I'll be going back to Holland.
Oh, nice.
But the great thing is, I'm going to see my old Supra. The guy who owns my Supra has a collection of Fast and Furious cars from the first two movies. So I saw it again for the first time after 20 years in Holland in October. Go over there and see it in Belgium, and I'm going to drive it for the first time in 20 years.
That's crazy. Wow.
It's nuts.
Is it like nostalgic feeling for you when you go there? Like you see the car that was identified now with the franchise, and now like seeing it again after so much time.
All right. There's two special moments I will never forget. Well, there's many special moments, but about that car. When the movie was coming out, it was called Redliner initially. Okay. So I wrapped up my work for them in, I think, October of 2000. And the movie was coming out in June of 2001. It was still called Redline. I got my last paycheck from my work with Universal because I was there for the beginning of it, before, pre-production, through production, all through production. Race Wars, I was there, editing, music, audio recording inside the studio, driving the cars on a runway to get all the sound bites, doing 140 miles an hour my Supra on a runway with a guy holding a microphone in the middle of the runway as I go by him at 140 miles an hour. I mean, I saw so much of the production, and it turns out being a technical advisor, you get to see so much of the production process. After that, they had me doing events with Paul Walker. We were flying up and down the coast, in California, Washington, all that stuff, talking to Paul, talking about cars. He signed on autographs. Nobody knew who he was. And then marketing events. And then they flew me over to Britain to the launch over there and talk to the people, the British press and the European press. I was there for the press. I was there for all the kinds of stuff. So I got to see all this stuff. And then Too Fast, Too Furious was pretty much the same thing. They put me in the back end of the DV, this behind the scenes of the DV, and it just didn't go away. It just didn't go away. So it was 4 years of my life. But for the first movie, what really got me was I was driving home from work. I was working at Wilshire and La Cienega, downtown, right next to the penthouse building. It was a posh neighborhood. So I'm driving home from work, and I was working for Super Street magazine, and I look up off of, I think that was La Cienega. There's a giant billboard, and there's a picture of a movie poster, the greenish Supra, and it caught my eye. I had never seen any of that artwork, nothing. The artwork wasn't even out yet. The movie banners weren't out yet. Wow. And I was happy for a second, and I was pissed. My car's not green.
Oh,
what did you do? My car's orange. They blended, they clipped. And for a minute, I had a tear in my eye. I was like, holy shit. Saw it. I was with the Chrome Cars people. We were doing a car, nice fabric car covers, cars, and the cars that were still covered at Friday, and I was helping them just look over. And then there's one more car. We come walking over there, and they pull it up, and it's orange, and I'm like, what is it? I had no idea, because Chrome Cars does not own my Supra, but they're friends with the guy who does own my Supra. And they brought it there, even though it wasn't running. There was something wrong with one of the fuel pumps, because the car never gets run. It just sits there it's been sitting for 20 years. So I pull it up, and it's my car. And I know immediately, because I can see through the hood vents, and I see almost all my stuff. And I get in the car, and all the smells are still there. Everything is there's just as the way it was. And I was like, and I don't know if you know this, but if you've been around cars long enough, some of these older cars, you can get in. I mean, an old Volkswagen just by the smell, an old 1960 Chevy just by the smell of the interior, all that kind of stuff. And so when you get older, you remember that from your childhood, and I grew up in that era. So yeah, I definitely had a tear in my eye about that one as well. When I drive it this way, it's going to be very sentimental. You don't know when you're going to drop dead. I have friends who are dropping dead in their 40s, for God's sakes, right? So I take every day at a time, and I appreciate every experience that I have, and I appreciate the fan support. They give me way too much credit for my little, very small contribution, being in the right place at the right time, with the right car, and with the right people who would listen and then take it from there and put their own flair on it to make this franchise a success. So I wish them all the best.
Just even on that, like you're talking about the car, how nostalgic it is. And I saw even on your YouTube channel, Just Driven, the collaboration you had with them. Yeah. How did that all come about? Because I'm sure like fans of the franchise too, when they're seeing it, it's all coming back together, the tribute vehicle. Like, how did that all come about?
So Daryl and I go way back. I met Daryl many years ago when he had a place right next to John Wayne Airport. He was good friends with Paul Walker. Paul at the time was driving a 66 Chevy 2, a dark gray one, and Daryl's warehouse. It wasn't very big. I think it was probably 4,000 feet or something like that. But he had a whole bunch of cars in there, including a couple of Skylines, R35s, two R35s, and a couple of R34s. So I didn't realize that Daryl was friends with Paul Walker. Okay, so this was around 2000. Let me do the math. That's got to be around 2005, 2004, something like that. And so that's how I got to meet him. And I've heard his name around. And then how did we get hooked up again? I forget how we got hooked up a couple of years ago. So he called me up. At one point, we had a discussion about building a replica of the Supra. And he asked me if I could help, for the authenticity of all that kind of stuff. So we started putting together a plan. He's got a great team over there. So I was basically, yes, you need these parts, these parts, which we'll look around to get them. If we can't get them, we'll do 3D printed, so that kind of stuff and do that. And then off we went. So these guys worked their ass off. They painted that car. They did the body kit. They had to recreate the body kit because you can't find those kits anymore. So they find a decent one, and then they have to put it on the car and fix everything and make their own molds. I mean, there was a lot of work that went into that car. So they were about, I think, $250,000 into that car, including buying the car, fixing it. And I mean, they changed all the rubber moldings, which is almost impossible to find that these days. But I think they painted that car twice. It was a rotisserie build. It was stripped down to the frame. They would turn around like a rotisserie chicken, So it was built the right way. And it's a magnificent car. I got a chance to drive, and it's fast.
Wow.
But getting in the car is not the same thing and driving the car, because you're talking about 2023 technology, right?
Yeah.
And you're talking about, production processes and things that you can do that you couldn't do back then, like all those stupid Band-Aid tuning devices, and now it's a standalone ECU and everything works perfectly. It idles perfectly, all that kind of stuff. I wonder if the air conditioners are on that car, because if the car has no air conditioning, that's a big no for me. I'm too old for that shit. But it's a magnificent build, and they're doing a Dodge Charger as well. It's a 1-to-1 recreation, even better than the movie car that they sent to us. So this one's going to be great. We have some things going on with that. We are working with a person that you might know by the name of the Stig.
I've heard of Just Driven. I've heard of, but I haven't heard of the Stig. I had to research that though.
No, do you ever watch Top Gear?
No, haven't seen it. I know. I gotta watch that now.
Well, if you are a car guy, everybody knows the Stig, not the first Stig, the second Stig. We're going to do something with those cars with the Stig. Okay. So and it's a big deal. He's the anonymous race driver that they use for road test and Top Gear. That went on for like 15 years or something like that. So we're going to do that. So that's another thing we're working on. And then another thing working up in the racing world, Formula One. I know you know about Formula One,
yeah.
Right? There was a famous race driver called Niki Lauda, and his rival was a guy by the name of James Hunt. He was that 1960s, 1970s race car driver playboy, betting 2 women at a night, that kind of stuff, smoking, drinking, partying, Playboy stuff, all that. He was a character and a half. He was everything you would think Hugh Hefner would have been in the late 1960s and the 1970s. Well, he happens to have a son. Well, guess what he does? He's a race car driver.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm helping him and his team to help get sponsors and put together some kind of feature about him, whether it's a movie or documentary. So I'm working on that right now.
And then, like,
he looks a lot like his dad, man. It's crazy.
Just being a part of these projects too, like Just Driven, like the Tribute model, this new venture that you're going to be doing, the Formula One. When you're doing these projects, like, is a lot of it looking towards your Fast and the Furious stuff?
I don't think that's the common denominator. The thing is, I've been in the automotive aftermarket in one way or another for 40 years. My first job was busting tires at a gas station with the work permit. Yeah. And then I worked at a speed shop. One way or another, I've been in the automotive marketing scene for a long, long time. NGK Sparkbugs gave me a whole bunch of experience working with race teams, working with engineers, manufacturers. So I got some of that. iBox Springs was another company. MagnaFlow was another company. So, but my thing is marketing. It's telling the story in a way that attracts people to your adventure, and they want to be a part of it, and then try and cash in on that, whether it's sponsorship or exposure or both. And so that is the one thing that I think is really my strong suit. I'm a compelling storyteller, as other people suggest. I just talk like I talk, but people think that I'm a good storyteller. So it basically has done me very, very well in my life. But I just tell every story with passion,
Yeah.
Because it's exciting. If it's not exciting, it's just an experience that I file in my Rolodex at the back of my brain, and I don't talk about it anymore. Oh yeah, that root canal. Yeah, no, we won't talk about that. Let's move on.
Yeah, it won't be an exciting story on that.
Not really. So,
like, also on the topic of like the car scene, you were part of a documentary there on Vice TV where Icons Unearthed there, looking at the behind the scenes of the Fast and the Furious. Was there anything about it that surprised you that maybe you didn't see about, like, at the time, that you finally came to your attention now that you learned about the process?
there wasn't one of the later episodes. I have to go back and watch it. The biggest surprise is that they actually called me.
You're a big part of that. You have to.
I'm a technical advisor. And I made that clear to the lady on the phone. This is what I did, yada, yada, yada. And they brought me in. I was supposed to be in there for an hour. I was there for 6 hours. And they had already interviewed 3 people before they came in before me. Wow, they didn't tell us about that. Yeah, they wouldn't have, would they? The one with the Dodge Durango goes off the bridge. And then I realized that I had my picture book. I had my picture book sitting. So a lot of the pictures that you see in that thing for those crashes and all that kind of stuff, came right out of my picture book.
Wow.
And then I have video footage that I took with my own personal camcorder at Too Fast, Too Furious. All that stuff at the warehouse, all my footage. So I loaned it to them, and they gave me so much great credit. They put me at the top of the credits for contributors. I was like, this is so great. And it wasn't just one episode. I think they put me on 3 episodes and in a lot of stuff. But one of these days, Dennis MacArthur is going to have to get on that show because he's been building the cars since Tokyo Drift. He and his team deserve a lot of credit for what they've done. Some of the most fantastic movie cars you'll ever see. Unfortunately, they're transient. They come into the scene for like a minute and a half, and then they're gone and you never see them again. And I think that's a tragedy because so much work goes into those cars for these people. They crazy deadlines, over budget stuff, they're just craziness. The trip, shipping them up all across the world, maintaining those guys are amazing. But everybody in my circle is all about the tuner cars. So they're just kind of like, these movies aren't our jam anymore. If I see one more damn Dodge Charger, I'm going to kill myself. And
that's the thing that comes up though. First thing, it's a Charger. So,
but it's worked. If you take a look at intersection takeover videos, you ever watch those? All of them are driven. All of those Dodge Chargers, right? One or Challenger. And you take a look at traditional audiences change. Back in the old days, it was old white guys driving Dodge Chargers and Dodge Challengers. Now it's young people of different descent. It's very big in the Latino community and the Black community now. Back in the old days, you'd never see that. Never. Going back to the 60s and 70s, you would not see a Latino driver pull up in a street racing Challenger. It was just unheard of. 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Nope, not unless you have a professional drag race team. But it's, diversified automotive hobby, which is a good thing. More people in it, more money for everybody, right? But the intersection takeover stuff is not a good thing.
Definitely. And just even transitioning a little bit here to cars and car culture. What are your thoughts on like the whole debate there, electric vehicles now coming in, like the production of gas motor vehicles? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I put up a video, was 2 weeks ago about should we ban EVs at car shows? Okay. And that stirred some shit. My thing was this. If you go to a car show, the whole point that you go to, the whole reason you go to a car show, you want to see stuff that's unusual, modified, interesting, creative. Now, imagine paying $25 to walk into a car show to see 450 bone stock Toyota Camrys that you see every day on the freeway, right? If you drive into Southern California here, you will see 1,000 Teslas every day. And they're basically 5 colors. There's white, there's black, there's gray, and then candy red, right? Pretty much maybe a dark blue. They are nothing special. They're totally soulless. They're appliances, right? They are totally soulless. These are just transportation. They're like toaster ovens. Now, I'm not passionate. I really admire Elon Musk and what he's doing with it. And I know electric cars are going to be part of our transportation future, whether it's all of it, anything. But I'm going into this with an open mind. In fact, I got a call from a guy I know for 20 years, and he invited me to the EV Expo in Long Beach on May 20th. And so I changed my plans to go to that thing because he says, we have a whole bunch of modified Teslas coming there and other EVs, and you should come down and take a look. I did my research, and I definitely want to see these cars. I want to see what the future is. I've driven a Tesla Plaid. It was fantastic. But the simple fact of the matter is, if you put that power into 16 years old, then there are going to be a lot of dead kids. There's going to be a lot of dead kids. 0 to 90 in like 4 seconds. No, we're going to have some problems with that. I think these cars are going to get better. They have been. I mean, I'm looking at Hyundai and Kia. The Ioniq, I look at great car. There's some great cars. They're going to come around, but they are going to be appliances. They're just not going to have the soul. I mean, you can customize them, wheels and maybe fender flares and make them look kind of cool. But if it sounds like the Jetsons spaceship, that cartoon, the Jetsons, and are people going to go to the Long Beach Grand Prix when you have 20 of those things running down the track? No. Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's just going to be a different thing. But you can say the same thing about RC cars, and I was a huge fan of RC cars. It's not the sound that they make, it's the fact that you're driving it. Now, this would be a great way to do racing. Everybody got a car in the crowd, and they can control their own car on the track. Now, I would watch. If you put 20 Teslas on a track and everybody got an RC controller, a radio controller, you get to control your own car. I'm watching that.
A melee on the racetrack.
I don't know what it's going to be. I'm not afraid of change because I went through the period when carburetors were on cars, right? And then they had leaded gas. And then as soon as they changed to unleaded gas, these cars couldn't make the compression, so they were slow. The Smoky and the Bandit Trans Am had a big, giant motor in it, big V8. It made 150 horsepower. 150. If you ask a kid how much horsepower you think that made, 500. Nope, 150. And then we got computers in cars, and everybody said, "Oh my God, that's it. That's the end of the world. We'll never be able to tune cars." I'm tuning my car from my iPhone right now. Right? I can change the tune in my car just from my iPhone through the computer.
Wow.
So I'm not resistant to change in any way, shape, or form. But I just feel like right now, as things stand, these cars have no soul. So bringing a bunch of stock Teslas to a car show where they're Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Koenigseggs, Bugatti Veyrons, and you park them in that same row of these things, I was like, what are you doing? What? And there was a comedian that was said, I watched a video last week, and he said, you know what? Or he's actually a YouTuber, said, don't bring your shit there. Because in our day, if your car was not a show car, you didn't show up. You parked at the back of the parking lot by the Denny's. Okay, you didn't roll your shit in there. You got a busted fender. Your headlight doesn't work. You got shitty wheels. The car is not painted. You park over there and you walk over. Don't bring that shit into this car show. A little elitist, because basically the inclusivity crowd has taken over now. They're bringing their shit boxes to these things. And everybody says, respect everybody's build. Right now, he's in the middle of a repair. He's not building anything. It's a repair. You can't find the fender. You come in here and your trim is falling off the car and all that. Oh, yeah, but it's really rare. Yeah, but you know what? A 1974 Toyota Caressa is not a sports car. It's not.
I mean, it's something I can't go with a 2012 Toyota Corolla and show up and park right beside these tuner cars.
No, you can park it over there by In-N-Out.
And I'll walk over.
Yeah. So what I proposed, and this I was doing tongue in cheek because I would go an incorrigible smartass. I said, if you're going to bring a Tesla to a car show in a big parking lot, go park by Best Buy with the rest of the appliances. But obviously I'm joking. People don't think that I'm joking because they don't know me well enough, because pretty much everything that comes out of my mouth is satire. So you have to be cognizant of that. But it is what it is. I think people are just falling out of favor with cars. Another 50 years from now, people are just going to recognize them for what they are. Cool looking because the manufacturer made it look cool. But ultimately, it's just another tool like a hair dryer or a vacuum cleaner. And that makes me happy that I will be dead by then, because I want to have to see the dissolution of something that's been going on for more than a century and has employed tens and hundreds of thousands of people and created all new innovation stuff. So it's just going to change, but we had a good run. Yeah. And so I'm hoping these young kids get into cars one way or another.
Maybe by then Fast and the Furious 25 will get them into the whole EV scene. Never know. One
last roll and they're all rolling out in wheelchairs. Electric wheelchairs. But I had a good meeting with a guy, a symposium with one of the stunt directors, Terry Leonard at Barrett-Jackson 2 years ago. Terry Leonard, okay, he used to get bar fights with John Wayne. I don't know if you know who John Wayne is.
Yeah, I heard of him. Yeah.
Okay. So I said, let me ask you a question. The electric cars are coming. What are you going to do when you're doing stunt sequences? We're just going to dub in V8 engines. And I go, really? So I'm going to see a Tesla going by with the engine sounds of a Hellcat Dodge Charger. Something doesn't compute. They don't care anything about realism. All they care about is selling movie tickets. And that's what they should be doing.
And Craig, just even on that, like a couple final questions here. Your Instagram page, everybody that follows it knows that you go live from time to time and you're at Cars and Coffee, and it looks like a fun atmosphere over there. You get to see all the cars, like all the car people that go around. What do you enjoy most about interacting with the car community? And is there any cars that have surprised you since you've gone?
Well, that show brings some great cars out there. At any time, you can see $10 million in one row. Easy. Sometimes you can get $20 million in just one row. There's about 4,000 to 5,000 cars there every Saturday. It's the largest weekly Cars and Coffee show anywhere in the world. And that has everything to do with the guy who runs it, Simon Ware, his wife and his family run it. They have like 40 volunteers that work at that event. If you do burnouts, if you rev your engine, they kick you out. There's a police station on the premise. They have the ability to control the parking lot and banish you and arrest you for trespassing if you come back. They publicly shame these people on social media. This is your car. This is your license plate. You're not coming back. If you do, you're going to get arrested for trespassing. so they don't mess around. So this is what happens, what needs to happen with all these other car shows, and people don't do it because they don't get that kind of permission. So these car shows that keep shutting down. That car show has been in 5 different places since I've been in South County. Pelican Hill, Newport Beach, Aliso Viejo, Irvine. I'm missing one. And now here in South Coast Plaza, the South OC outlets. So this is the last hurrah. If this doesn't survive, that's going to be the end of mass car shows in Orange County, because if this can't be controlled, then we'll have to bring in the National Guard to take care of this stuff. So it's really a shame.
You enjoy it still? Like just seeing it, everybody coming up, and it's still an enjoyable experience?
Real car people have broad interests, right? And I know there's a lot of Corvette guys who bring out their patio furniture and they just sit there, and that's their jam. That's fine and everything. I walk the roads. I talk to people. I know a lot of people around there because they're local. Some people will know me for my work, my cars, and all kind of stuff. And it's nice to talk to young people like that. And I've had a few disciples attached. They come and ask me questions about what kind of career I should do and all kind of stuff. So they're really into cars. I try to encourage that where their parents aren't, because it always kept me out of trouble. It was always about my car and my girlfriend. So I'm hoping these people come in. But so it's a fun thing. It's diversity. You got whatever you want to see. You want to see trucks, overlanders. You want to see old cars. You want to see new cars, JDM classics, Europeans. Most people are very well behaved. I'm not a big fan of having 20 Dodge Challengers with no modifications in the same parking lot, or the same Dodge Chargers. It's really not interesting to me, but it is a gathering place for them, and they're car people. And so they're doing something safe. They're doing something legal. They're enjoying the company of other car people. How could you not welcome these people?
And I remember 2 years ago when you came on here and talked about, you had the R34, Paul Walker's R34. When you brought it there, what was the reaction? Did everybody right away know it was from the movie?
Well, that car was not the movie car. It looked like the movie car. It wasn't the movie car. It was Paul Walker's personal car. I wish he would paint it in another color because it gets confused. I just mentioned that in my video again today. It was very confusing with these cars because it's a bit difficult to tell them apart, especially when they have the exact same body kit and the same color. So I can understand the confusion. Well, the only people who come to look at that car are JDM guys, and they lose their mind because it's very rare to see one of those things on the road at any time. And when they are, it shuts the show down. You see the guys walk away from the Lamborghinis. I can see that anyway, Newport Beach. There's 50 of them on the freeway every bloody day, and you get jaded, right? When you see the R34 and they're just losing their shit. This car was a borrowed car. It's owned by a guy from on Instagram called 458 Destroyer. And he loaned the car to me for the summer. He just sent it out to me. Hey, Craig, get me some press of this car.
Was it like everything he did in that car? Was it still from when he owned it, or were there modifications to it since then?
No, it hadn't been touched really.
Oh, wow.
It was the way it was. So it was a time capsule, but a lot of people got to sit in the cars. I let the kids sit in cars. If you're under 12 or something like that, I let them sit in the car. And some of these kids are crying in the car because it's just some way to touch Paul Walker. You got to remember Paul Walker, whether he liked it or not, he became an ambassador of the tuner hobby.
Yeah.
Right. By desire or by accident, it doesn't matter. That's the truth of it.
It's true, because I remember even being in high school at the time, everybody would identify him as being that character, and everybody would identify him with cars. So, even when he passed away, the unfortunate circumstances, do you think his legacy should be that he was just for the car community type of thing, or do you think it should be more than that?
Well, he started a charity called Reach Out Worldwide, is now being administrated by his brother. His daughter has created another charity for oceanography purposes, because he was all about, saving the oceans, because he was a surfer, and most surfers are into that. They're very clean and conscious, so forth. I think he would like to be remembered for more than that. The work that he'd done around the world, because he did a lot of work with Reach Out Worldwide. Cody, for God love him, he's trying to do the same thing. It's very difficult these days with complexities in other countries and so forth. And America is standing in the world through this administration. So we seem to have fallen a little bit. We don't get the same respect we used to. This country has other priorities and so forth, but it doesn't taint what the Reach Out World is doing. But if you would ask him, and I know this from personal experience, I'm just doing this because they pay me to do it. I'm not an actor. I'm not trying to be an actor. I'm just a guy who likes cars, guns, and surfing. And if they pay me to be in those movies, I'm going.
On that note, Craig, before we wrap up here and let you go, how can our listeners and viewers here at Vibe 105 stay up to date with everything you're doing, all the projects you're doing, and follow you on social media?
Yeah. You can go to my Instagram, Craig Lieberman _42. I should have picked another name for all that stuff because everybody was using pseudonyms back in their day, and I didn't want to be that guy. I still get people telling me, "Oh, are you the real Craig Lieberman?" I said, the only thing more pathetic than being me is pretending to be me. Yes, it's really me. It's like I'm somebody. I'm just some dude who was in a movie once.
An iconic scene too, Craig.
Yeah,
that racehorse scene, it's a legendary scene. Don't sell yourself short on that.
For the next 2 years of that, every time I convoyed with my friends in cars, they pull up to the stoplight. I mean, they go like this. And I roll my eyes and look at the other way for 2 years. And then when I couldn't get away. I'd be watching the weather in the airport. This storm front is moving down fast and furious. And I just go, Jesus, I can't get away from it. All right. Once we're open here at this bagel shop, the line's going to go fast and furious. So try not to get trampled everywhere, once a month. And I just shut up. Make it go away. 20 years. I got away with it for like 15 years. For 15 years, I didn't have to talk about it at all. And then after Paul died, people started to hit me up. Hey, tell me the story. Okay. And here we are.
Oh, Craig, I really appreciate you sharing your time and coming on here on Vibe 105 again to talk all about the Fast 10, your experiences, and the car hobby. And I wish you all the best.
Thanks, man.
VIBEtalks exclusively on Vibe 105.